Hello, good day everyone. My name is Marvin Kalika and today we're glad to discuss the chapter 1, which is the devices for connecting networks. Let's start with local area network transmission devices, which we assume that you have seen or have at home. Examples of this are repeaters, multi-station access units, hubs, bridges, routers, switches, and gateways. These devices in general are essential in transmitting or sending data. These devices link up all the local and remote network segments with each other to make a data communication from one segment to another. The two important devices for me of a big network are routers and switches. Why? As you can see in figure 1-1, a computer network with good infrastructure with properly placed and configured network devices such as router and switches is helpful in reducing the overall operational cost, also improving the performance, manageability, and reliability. Let's go with repeater. Its job is to regenerate the signal across the same network before it becomes too weak or corrupted, allowing the signal to be transmitted for long distance on the same network. So it is often used in household and some workplaces, buildings that can support this kind of setup. But an important reminder to be noted about repeaters is that they do not amplify the signal. They only copy it bit by bit and regenerate it as if it's the original one. As you can see in figure 1-1, two local area networks are connected by a repeater. So this setup is very common to a workplace where you will be able to connect and supply the nodes. Furthermore, here is figure 1-2. This uses wireless repeaters, so this kind of setup is more likely to use at our homes because it is hassle-free and you can just plug and play at the same time. You will save money since it only requires 1 or 2 repeaters to supply your property. The first one is the analog repeater, but they can only amplify or strengthen the analog signal, while the digital repeaters, on the other hand, can reconstruct a distorted signal. So for example, with a digital repeater, communications between radio users are more efficient with enhanced clarity between radio users and clearer voice. The repeater and its antenna receive originating signals on one frequency and simultaneously retransmits or repeats the signal on the second frequency. And when it comes to the types of networks that they connect, repeaters can be categorized into two types: wired repeaters and wireless repeaters. With the word itself, wired repeaters, wired local area networks like switch and hubs, while wireless repeaters are used in wireless local area networks like cellular networks, like our SIM cards, cell phones. So furthermore, domains of local area networks they connect, repeaters can be divided into two categories. Local repeaters connect local area network segments separated by a small distance, meaning it only covers a single location. And remote repeaters connect local area networks that are far from each other, for example, campus. The pros of using repeater are they don't require any processing overhead. The only time they need to be investigated is in case of degradation of performance. But keep in mind the cons. For example, is they cannot reduce network traffic congestion. As I said earlier, they can only copy. Now that we discussed the repeaters, please bear with us and let's have Jimwell to discuss the multi-station access unit.
Thank you, Marvin. So let's talk about multi-station access unit, MSAU or MAU. What is multi-station access unit? It is a hub that connects computers or other devices to a talking ring topology. It is made up of two networks, the ring topology and star topology. Let me explain first what are the ring and star topology. The ring topology is a network setup that creates a circular data channel by connecting devices in a circular path. Every network device is connected to each other. Next is star topology. Every network component is physically connected to a central node such as router, hub, or switch, wherein connecting node sends a packet of data. The central node can pass the packet within the network. Let's back to the MAU or multi-station access unit. In this network, every data or message passes through every computer. The packet of data is continuously passing to the next device until it reaches the intended recipient. But this unit have a disadvantage. There is a possibility to break down the token ring topology. When there is a node that is not working, it will disrupt the flow in the ring. So the MAU make a way to fix this problem, so that it can bypass the broken node that the packet can continue to circulate in the ring. This became possible with the help of CAU or Control Access Unit. Let's find how CAU or Control Access Unit resolves this problem. The CAU enables many connected units to be counted as a single MAU. CAUs also have features for obtaining data for network performance management and to share his knowledge about hub. I give you Mr. Marvin again.
Hi, so the hub is a central network device connecting nodes, commonly in a star topology. So basically, it is a multi-port repeater. For example, the connector in star topology which connects different stations, while hub cannot filter data but can send data packets to all connected devices. In a typical office setup, hubs are commonly used. A network hub, unlike switch or router, has no routing tables or intelligence for determining where to transmit data, and instead broadcasts all the network traffics across each link. However, many of us are confused because nowadays people utilize switch hubs. It is a new type of hub which packets are forwarded to the appropriate port based on the packet's address. Each packet is simply rebroadcast to each port in a typical hub. Switching hubs, on the other hand, just forward packets to the appropriate ports. So there are three types of hubs. The first one is the active, second is the passive, and lastly the intelligent hub. So with the word active, the first one, these are the hubs that have their power to supply and clean, boost, and rely on the signal along with the network. It functions as both repeater and a wiring center point. These are used to increase the maximum distance between the nodes. The second type of hub is the passive hub, which collects wiring from nodes and power from the active hub. These hubs do not clean or boost signals before relaying them to the network and cannot be used to extend the distance between nodes. One example of passive hub is punch-down block consisting of a plastic box with different connectors, mostly RJ45. And to give knowledge about bridge, here is Brand.
Bridge. A bridge is a type of computer network device that provides interconnection with other bridge networks that uses the same protocol. The bridge device works at the data link layer in the OSI model na nagko-connect sa dalawang magkaibang network and providing communication between them. Makikita naman natin sa picture kung paano nagko-connect yung dalawang LAN network gamit yung bridge. Bridge maintain the MAC address table as soon as they discover new segment. So subsequent transmission are sent to only to the desired recipient. Magsesend lang siya sa kung kanino mo ito gusto isend. The principal function of a network bridge is to forward data based on the MAC address of the sending and receiving devices. Dahil dito, matutulungan na ma-eliminate yung tinatawag na collision domains. The collision of domains happen when simultaneous data transmission collide with one another. The prevention of collision is not the only advantage of using bridge. They also are used to control the flow of information to maintain privacy. Here are some functions of a bridge. First, extend a LAN when the maximum connection limit is reached. Example, the 30-node limit on an Ethernet bus. Second, extend a LAN beyond the length limit. Example is beyond 185 meters for a ITNET segment. Segment LANs to reduce data traffic bottlenecks. Fourth, prevent unauthorized access to a LAN. 5. Learning. Learn network topology and device addresses. Information is stored in bridging table. 6. Filtering. Do not flood certain frames, discard others. Enable the bridge to be used for security purposes. 7. Forwarding. Transmit frames to destination based on the data built in to the bridging table. So here are two types of bridge. One is local. It directly connects two LANs in close proximity. Also used to segment traffic to reduce bottlenecks. Second is remote. To join distant networks. Used to join networks in different cities or states. Now, let's move on to routers. Routers are networking devices operating at the layer 3 or a network layer of the OSI model. Sila yung responsible sa receiving, analyzing, and forwarding data packets among the connected computer networks. Kapag dumating na yung data packet, i-inspect ni router yung destination address. Consult its routing table para ma-decide kung alin yung most favorable route and then transfer the packets along this route. A router also the first line of security from intrusion into a network. Enabling the highest level of security on the router turns on things like firewall and is the best way to keep your computer system and information safe from attack.
Routing table. The functioning of a router depends largely upon the routing table stored in it. The routing table stores the available routes for all destinations. A routing table is database that keep track of paths like a map and uses this to determine which way to forward traffic. A routing table typically contains the following entities. Number 1, IP addresses and subnet masks of the nodes in the network. 2 is the IP addresses of the router in the network. And the last one is interface information among the network devices and channel. These are the type of routers: wireless router, broadband routers, core routers, and this example is usually ito yung mga ginagamit natin na source ng ating internet. And these are the different types of routing table. Number 1 is static routing table. This is also known as non-adaptive routing, which does not change routing table unless the network administrator change or modify them manually. It is suitable for small network containing 2 to 3 routers. And with static router, you as the administrator manually enter the routes and tell the router for each IP network of what next hop the traffic should be delivered to. And in static routing, routes are user-defined. A static route is a route that manually inserted into the routing table. And the next one is dynamic routing table, also known as adaptive routing, which change routing table according to the change in topology. Dynamic routing uses complex routing algorithms and it does not provide high security like static routing. It is suited for larger networks having a larger number of routers. In dynamic routing, routes are updated according to topology. And dynamic routing is a network technique that provides optimal data routing. Unlike static routing, dynamic routing enables router to select paths according to real-time logical network layout changes. And the example of dynamic routing protocols are BGP, EIGRP, OSPF, and RIP that you can choose according to your topology specific requirements.
Hi, I'm Patrick and let's talk about switch. So normally, it's used to network multiple computers together. Switches made for the consumer market are typically small, flat boxes with 4 to 8 Ethernet ports. Switches are more advanced than hubs and less capable than routers. So multiple computers can connect together through a switch. But switches are more advanced than hubs, but they are not as powerful as routers. Unlike hubs, switches can limit the traffic to and from each port so that each device connected to the switch has a sufficient amount of bandwidth. Devices which use switches will less frame collisions. And also, switches will increase the performance of the network. So, if we use switch to device, it can transfer more data in a maximum rate. LAN uses two switching techniques. The first is cut-through, a packet switching system that starts forwarding a frame before the entire frame has been received. Usually, as soon as the destination address and outgoing interface have been determined, is known as a packet switching system. Next is store and forward. It is a telecommunication strategy in which data is transferred to a central station, where it's stored until it's ready to be sent to the final destination or another central station, so that the two switching techniques that LAN use.
There are different types of switches in a network. These are unmanaged switches, managed switches, LAN switches, and POA switches. So let's discuss first the unmanaged switches. These are the switches that are mostly used in home networks and small business, as they plug in and instantly start doing their job, and such switches do not need to be watched or configured. These require only small cable connection. It allows devices on a network to connect with each other, such as computer to a computer or a computer to a printer in one location. They are the least expensive switches among all categories. Managed switches. These types of switches have many features like highest level of security, precision control, and full management on the network. These are used in organization containing a large network and can be customized to enhance the functionality of a certain network. These are the most costly option, but their scalability makes them an ideal option for a network that is growing. They are achieved by setting a simple network management protocol, or also known as SNMP. There are two types of managed switches. These are smart switches and enterprise managed switches. Smart switches. These switches offer basic management features with the ability to create some levels of security, but have a simpler management interface than the other managed switches. Thus, they are often called partially managed switches. These are mostly used in fast and constant LANs, which support gigabit data transfer and allocations. It can accept the configuration of VLANs or virtual LANs. Number two, the second type of managed switches is enterprise managed switches. They have features like the ability to fix, copy, transform, and display different networks configuration, along with a web interface, SNMP agent, and command line interface. These are also known as fully managed switches and are more expensive than smart switches, as they have more features that can be enhanced. These are used in organization that contains a large number of ports, switches, and nodes. LAN switches. These are also known as Ethernet switches or data switches, and are used to reduce network congestion or bottleneck by distributing a package of data
only to its intended recipient. These are used to connect points on island. And lastly, the PoE switches. PoE switches are used in PoE technology, which stands for Power over Ethernet. That is a technology that integrates data and power on the same cable, allowing power devices to receive data in parallel to power. Thus, these switches provide greater flexibility by simplifying the cable process.
So let's start off a function of a gateway. Number 1. Convert common protocols to specialized type. So what are the different types of protocols? Transmission control protocol, internet protocol, user datagram protocol, post office protocol, etc. Number 2. Convert message format from one format to another. Number 3. Translate all different of addressing schemes. NAT types. There are 3 types of NAT. Static NAT. What is static NAT? In this case, a single public IP address is mapped to a single private IP address, implying that a private IP address is turned to a public IP address. Number 2. Dynamic NAT. In this type of NAT, multiple private IP addresses are mapped to a pool of public IP numbers. Number 3. Port address translation. Another word for this NAT in this approach, many local IP address can be joined into a single public IP address. How NAT protect you? It assigns a single IP address to all of your network devices, hiding their identities to the outside world. It demands a device that acts as of each data packet that comes. If a malicious data packet is not included in the least expected communication, it will be rejected. 4. Link a host or computer offline. 5. Provide terminal emulation for connection to hosts. The ability to make one computer terminally, generally a PC, look like another, usually older type of terminal, so that a user may access to program built to interface with the other terminal type is known as a terminal emulation. 6. Direct electronic mail to right network decision. What is destination address? Destination address of a network to which a data frame or packet is sent. The destination address is used by a network host to determine if a packet frame is meant or for the other host. Connect networks with different architectures. The 2 types of network architectures are used. 1. Peer-to-peer network. Example, P2P network architecture is frequently used to share huge files over the internet. P2P, for example, is used by several online gaming companies to allow players to download games from one another via the internet. Number 2. Client-server network. Example, client-server network are computer networks in which data is stored. Resources are managed and user access controlled on a specialized server.
Thank you, Lawrence. Let's talk about types of gateway. Gateway in a computer network has mainly 2 types, as unidirectional gateway and bidirectional gateways. Below, there is a brief introduction about both types of gateway. The first one is unidirectional gateway. This is the type of gateway that allows the data to broadcast in one direction. The data can either send or receive. There is no two-way communication channel, and every change in the direction of the data gets completed in the source terminal. Only the spot or the destination direction replicated in the nodes or the application. The nodes do not impact the direction of data, and it remains the same as it was sent. This type of gateway mainly works as the archive tool. The term unidirectional gateway was going to describe network security technology that does not meet the evaluation assurance level certification standards for the true data diodes. Products sold as directional gateways can be any combination of hardware or software, with varying levels of sophistication. One thing they all have in common is that they are based on technology that was initially designed to allow simultaneous two-way communication. Data diodes, on the other hand, are based on technology that is inherently one-way and cannot be compromised. Bidirectional gateway. Bidirectional gateway provides permission to send an alert from the source to the target or exact destination, object server or application, and also provide a reply to the source. In the bidirectional gateway configuration, the changes from in the content of server are copied in a destination or application, and the destination object server or application copy its alert in the source. Bidirectional gateway can be treated as synchronization tools. Object server gateways are used to transfer alerts among object servers. This is effective when you need to develop a distributed installation or when you wish to install a backup. Below are some of the significant examples of gateways that are based on these two types. So, to understand more about the gateway, we should also learn about some examples. Here are common examples of gateway: network gateway, internet to orbit gateway, media gateway, payment gateway, and many more.
Transmission devices. They are specially designed network devices that are used to interconnect LANs. Configuring, installing, and maintenance of the devices requires expert skills by skilled technicians for the management of the organization networks. These devices are specific to one environment, and they are modems, ISDN adapter, cable TV modems, DSL modems, router, and access servers. All of them are designed specially to LANs, which makes up the one. Frequently used one transmission devices, analog telephone modems. The word modem stands for modulator and demodulator, which refers to the fact the modems convert digital transmission signal to analog signals, and vice versa. The modems used to communication formats that synchronous and asynchronous. Synchronous is continuous data burst controlled by a clock signal, while asynchronous discrete signals delimited by start and stop beats. Analog facility is used for data communication between two digital devices called data terminal equipment or DTE. Modems are used at each, and DTE can be terminal or a computer. The modem at the transmitting and converts the digital signal generated by DTE into an analog signal by modulating a carrier. This modem at the receiving and demodulates the carrier and hand over the demodulated digital signal to DTE.
ISDN terminal adapters or ISDN adapter. When the speed provided by a modem just isn't enough, you must seek alternatives. One of the speedier options available is an ISDN link. ISDN is a digital communication method that can be used over a conventional phone line, although certain criteria must be met for an ISDN line to be available, such as availability of the service and the proximity of your location to the telco site. To use ISDN, you need a device called ISDN terminal adapter or ISDN adapter. ISDN adapters are available as add-in expansion cards that are installed into your PC computers. External devices that connect to the serial interfaces of PC systems or modules in a router. Cable TV modems or cable modems. Cable modems are a prevalent type of hardware that connects computer devices with your internet service provider or your ISP. Differing from other types of modems, a cable modem uses coax cable, the same infrastructure that brings television programming to our business or homes, to proxy that connection rather than a telephone or DSL line. In residential and commercial application, a cable modem is able to provide multi-channel voice, internet and television access in most cases under a single consolidated service contract. Cable modems work as digital translator. They receive data signals from your ISP's network, then immediately translate them into digital language for your router to distribute across your local network via wired Ethernet or Wi-Fi connection. Cable modems perform the all-important conversion via coaxial cable and an Ethernet cord that connects directly into computer devices or a network router.
DSL modems and routers. Digital Subscriber Line or DSL works over copper wire like ISDN. It requires intelligent adapter in connecting computer or router. The maximum upstream and downstream transmission rates are 200 Mbps and the maximum distance from the user to telco without a repeater is 5.5 kilometers or 3.4 miles. This type of router and modems are common around offices or at home. It can be used wirelessly or through Ethernet connection using UTP cables or unshielded twisted pair, which are copper-based wires. It would give services covered by the Integrated Services Digital Network or ISDN. The ISDN is a set of communication protocols allowing simultaneous digital transmission of voice, video, data, and other network services across the public and switched telephone networks' digitized lines.
Access server. A network access server (NAS) is any device that handles remote logins to establish point-to-point protocol connection. Some people call these devices media access gateways or remote access servers. A NAS is a gateway to a wider world of resources for a user. That person must move through the NAS and pass any authentication test before accessing the resources they need. You have probably used NAS even if you didn't realize it many years ago. You likely needed to wait for your computer to move through a series of beeps and buzzes before you could reach the internet. That dial-up process was handled by a NAS. Example: Internet Service Providers (ISP). One of the major functions of NAS is to serve as the gateway protected remote resources. As such, most are servers that enable ISP to give their customer access to the internet. Virtual Private Network (VPN). This connection gives remote user to access a private network. In enterprising settings, VPNs allows employees to securely connect to the business network and access the resources they need regardless of their location.